Oh,
Oh, what's up, Flooring
got
family?
my lip on the coffee.
Welcome to the Huddle, where we burn our lips on coffee. Now we come to you every Tuesday, 3 o'clock Central, to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. Here today with me, as always, at least one of them,
Almost always.
almost always, but at least one of them is Daniel and Jose from Preferred Flooring in Michigan. And So welcome. Today's kind of special. We don't talk, we reference Go Carrera. We talk about it, we obviously promote it. But today we're going to do a deep dive. And this is going to be a two-part series. So if you're an installer on here, we're going to be talking about companies and the benefits to companies and why Go Carrera exists for companies. We wanted to give an extra week. We were actually going to start with installers, but wanted to give an extra week to do some promotion and try to get as many installers on the live stream, wherever that is, to chime in, ask questions. We're hoping that we can get a lot of questions next week. So if you've joined us here today and you're an installer, feel free to stay because you'll learn some things about why on the company side. But next week's important. It would be really great if we could get some interaction and some discussion live. We get a lot of views on the various channels, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. And by the way, like and subscribe on YouTube. But it's going to be I'd love for it to be interactive so you can challenge us, like, well, why do you do this or why do you do that? And let us answer. And if
I'll do
maybe
my
we'll
best.
discuss.
I'll do my best to do that. The whys. I'll do my very best because I was in that position for a little while and not
Yeah.
knowing. It's great to
Yeah.
have clarity as to what Go Career is. And yeah, my apologies.
And
It
why it
takes
even
so long.
exists, right? Yeah.
No, man.
Why is it even here? So starting today, talking about companies. So, Go Carrera came out of a desire for flooring companies to be able to kind of understand what the installer can do, and have some assurance if they don't know who you are as an installer, as a company doesn't know you intimately, like work with you every day or something. What usually happens is you kind of go into their office, you're trying to get work, you sit across the desk from them, they talk, you talk, and so the company installer have a conversation and try to decipher the abilities of that installer. That's what you do as a company. We want to make sure as a company that you can actually do the work that we're going to give you or award you. So the whole purpose of Go Carrera's existence was to try to shorten that time frame and then allow companies to work with installers based off of their profile. So what have they done? What have they done in their past? And their true skills and experience. So we created an algorithm, took 3 years to get done. It's patent pending both in the US and international. And that algorithm gives the installer a skill score. That skill score is based off of a ton of factors. That algorithm is very dynamic, but in essence, what it does is display the true skill and ability of the installer to the company so that the company, sight unseen, meaning I don't have to know you face to face. I can look at your profile on Go Carrera and decide if you're going to be able to do my work or not. So I can publish a work order to the network as a company, set my hammer rating, my skill score to what level I think this job requires. So like a vestibule of carpet tile, I may not even put a hammer rating on that, honestly. But let's say a simple backsplash, I might put it at a half hammer. But a flash cove, 6-inch flash cove heat weld with, a serpentine freaking pattern through the middle that the designer thought would look like water running under the operating table or whatever they think of. I may need a 3-hammer guy
I actually
and resilient. What's that?
I said I like that idea.
Don't do it. Don't tell any designer to do that. But yeah, so it just requires a higher level of skill and a higher level of training and experience. And so that might be set at a higher hammer. The benefit to installers is going to be really deep dove into next week. But the benefit to the companies, which is our main discussion today, is when I shoot the work order out to the network and I put my hammer rating on, I know that I'm only going to get returned back to me the guys that have that hammer rating or above, which obviously is a benefit to the installer because the higher skilled installers are doing the higher skilled work. And frankly, it pays more. And those are the guys that should be doing the job. That's how I think I know that's how I feel. I believe that's how my cohorts feel. And, we want to give the goal for any installer. Like most installers don't want to do a bad job, but they want to make money. And so sometimes they overreach. Is that fair?
That's a fair assessment. And to say that we haven't done that at some point, we would 100% be lying to
Yeah,
you.
and we've talked about this before too,
Yeah.
right? It's
Uh,
what we were saying the difference was is that we actually went through and said, okay, yeah, we can do this, but then we researched it ahead of time instead of showing up to the job site and being like, let's figure this out while we're here.
Yeah. We try to do some hands-on prior to, but
Well, I've overreached before, and then actually, I overreached and got a big protect all job long before I ever got certified or before we had anybody certified. And I was like, "Sheesh, we better get some guys on a plane heading to Michigan," And we got trained and certified before the job ever came around to actually install. That's okay. What's not okay, I mean, that's acceptable. At least you're getting the training on the specific product. What puts all of us in, I don't care if you're a company or an installer, what puts us all in a bad position is when an installer does a job that he's not qualified to do, and he or she is not qualified to do, and then doesn't just tell you, right? And I've had this happen multiple times over 20 years. And I've lost clients over it. I've talked on this podcast about a client I lost because a guy really said everything I wanted to hear sitting across the table from me, that made me believe he could do the sheet vinyl, the Flash Cove sheet vinyl in a birthing center. And it was so bad that by the time our field operations guy gets out there and looks at it, I mean, he's calling the demo machine, trying to beat the owner from seeing it. So, I mean, it was bad enough that we were trying to tear it out before the owner even seen it. So, we didn't want that to be, unfortunately, the owner did see it, but more unfortunately is this was an end of year project and they wanted to have a New Year's baby, all birthing centers. That's a big day for them. They missed it. I deserve to lose that project and that account. Honestly, I didn't do a good job of vetting that installer enough to give my client the quality project they deserved. And we got it right, but at the end of the day, they didn't want to work with us anymore. That's been 7, 8, maybe even 10 years ago, but lesson learned. But that's the driver. That's the driver of all this, is knowing who you have based off of not what they say, not what an installer says they can do, but what the data says they can do. And so, but what does this require? It requires companies and installers to embrace education. That's why so often on this podcast, you hear us talk about education, trainings, certifications. And then if you're on Go Carrera and you log all those, it will increase your hammer rating. Now it's not 1-for-1, like you take this and you get 2 hammers, or you take this training, you get a hammer. It's dynamic, meaning it also requires to know when you took that within your experience, your years of experience. It also determines which trainings you've gotten before other trainings. So I always give the example of like Schluter's 2-day workshop is somewhat not needed, like ineffective for an installer who just started learning how to install ceramic tile properly. Waterproofing shower systems should not be something a 6-month guy that's been helping another guy for 6 months on tile install to do. So if you're a new tile installer and you took a Schluter workshop, it's not going to move your hammer rating a lot. However, if you had some more foundational trainings and certifications in place, and then you took that, now it's going to give you even more. So that's kind of an example of how the dynamic nature of the algorithm and thus the skill score or hammer rating really is. So
I have a question.
Shoot.
And I already know the answer to this, but I know some people might have a question for this too. The hammer ratings, are they going to be individualized per se for materials for silos within our industry?
Yeah.
And then how does that work? Because you don't want someone who can obtain a 2 hammer rating because they have everything but like no hard tile background, or a large hammer rating in a hard surface, but then nothing for soft surface. So how does that work out for stores to decipher who is best for that project?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So in effect, I'm actually going to maybe for the first time, if I'm allowed to share my screen, just share my screen and kind of show you the answer to your question. So in short, each work order is going to, let me see if I can get this to, sorry, technical difficulty. I'll share in a second. Let me,
AKA, I don't know what I'm doing.
Thank you. It's a little different when you're not the actual host at the time of the podcast. So yeah. I'm gonna send them a quick message to let me share. And so in essence, the answer to your question though, Jose, and thank you for asking that, is you get a hammer rating in each discipline. So it's possible and inevitable, actually, that you're going to have a different hammer rating in carpet than you do sheet vinyl or resilient. Sorry. So we have the major disciplines, and the way that works is, whether it's carpet, ceramic, wood, resilient, epoxies, concrete surfaces, and floor care. Any of those, you'll have different hammer ratings in each. So each one, you could have, say, a 2 hammer in resilient and no hammer at all in tile, or, in ceramic. So yeah, you can have different hammer ratings, which will allow a company to work with the guy in their strengths. So yeah, there's plenty of guys on the platform that have, like, a 2 hammer rating in say ceramic tile, but then a half hammer in resilient, because they do some LVT here and there, but they're really tile guys.
Okay.
So another
screen.
Oh, yeah, let me try that again. See if the share screen is gonna let me do it. Looks like they're working on it. I just got a chat that they're
Oh,
working on
yeah,
it. So
it seems like it popped right up on mine too, so.
so what is your guys's experience and over the years? Let's imagine one thing I want to maybe set a
Sorry.
foundation here is there's probably around 800 active accounts, a couple thousand total active accounts. Monthly active users are, in the lower hundreds of installers. So at scale, this works really well. And another caveat here is we had such a, I don't know what you'd call it, a dead time. Is that a good way to say it? Where installers were not getting trained after kind of the unions started to close up shop in different areas. Wichita used to have a
And the
flooring.
right to work movement came around and stuff
Mhm.
like that, when it was like not all unions, and then more small businesses started popping up and try to think that they could do what the unions did but can't.
Yeah, it was like when unions left areas, and there was plenty of non-union areas way back then as well. But the training is what I think kind of fell apart a lot. They had these training centers all over the nation. A lot of entities like CFI and the CTEF and these organizations started training. And I can't speak to the exact timeline, but they were doing trainings and stuff still. But there is a dead time where and pair with this the rise of more subcontract labor. Like I remember when I started as an hourly employee, and subs were in the early 90s, mid 90s, were there. They just weren't as prevalent as today. Like in Wichita, I'm the only company, Stuart and Associates, my flooring company, is the only company that has any employee installers. Everybody else uses subs. Now we use subs too. Don't get me wrong. We use plenty of them, but we also have 12 or 15, I'd have to check with my COO, but like 12, 15-ish in-house employee benefited health insurance, vans, equipment installers. Then we have probably 75 to 100, somewhere in that range, of actual true subcontractors who provide labor services to us. That is, I mean, that's a lot in just Wichita, and that's in 20 years, 25 years. It's almost non-existent employee installers. You go down to Texas, and I would say of the companies I've talked to, I'll bet you 95 to 99% of them are 100% subcontractor. There's a lot of places, even where unions are pretty heavy, where there's still a lot of subs. So the point here is that all this kind of came together at the same time. And so we ended up with a pretty large population of subcontractors that were undertrained. If you talk to the old guys, you guys go to a lot of shows. So if you've ever talked to an old installer and they kind of talk about the installation quality back in the day compared to now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's one of the conversations too that we probably had a few times where, like you said, the right to work, and it kind of got separated. Unions kind of went to their own side, and there might have been a couple of guys from the union that came out, started training a few, and then the training and knowledge got diluted, so to speak, right? So it got watered down as it went on, and then
Not even
as it went through the
diluted,
generations.
well, yeah, not only that, it's you still talk to some of these older guys, and they still have that mindset of, if I tell you how to do it, you'll take all my work, and then I won't have any work.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
look where that's got us. We got a bunch of old guys and no young guys to do the work.
the young guys interested, right? Because nobody was teaching anyone else, and they trying to keep it for themselves, and it didn't
Well,
take
doesn't
us
this
what
speak a little bit to what Daniel brought up? I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 podcasts ago about subs hire another, like the 1099
yeah,
chain.
Right.
Like, how many links can we put together to get a
Hey
job
guys,
done?
instead of having employees, let's us 6 people all get our own businesses and then we'll all sub to each other kind of thing.
yeah. So
Yeah,
one mastermind, and then that one pays all of them, or the other guy gets a job, pays the other guys. Yeah.
yeah. I think that
Yeah,
just
right now
for,
in the presence of Floor God, he's watching on LinkedIn.
Hey, hey.
all right. Um, I think that there's a delusion that happened, like maybe the grandfather was union trained, and then
Mhm.
as the unions kind of did what happened, and this is not a knock on unions at all. I'm just saying what happened. I mean, they used to be in more areas. Um, the grandpa got trained, maybe the union left that area, and then the grandpa trained the son or the nephew or whatever, and then he was still pretty good, but then he trains the next, like as you go through the generation, it's just like that game we play in elementary where you say a phrase to somebody, and then by the time it gets around to you, it's a total different phrase. It
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gets diluted.
Look at it like a
So
family recipe. Like if you don't have a family recipe written down and you're just going by, oh, this and this and taste,
little pinch of this.
yeah, you're gonna forget something. Eventually, if it's not written down, you can't duplicate it, and that's
Yeah,
what
your
happens.
spaghetti's going to be different eventually,
Yeah,
or whatever.
the sauce is gonna be
Yeah,
different.
the
There you
sauce
go.
is going to be different.
And we gotta write. We gotta get something like that. But I get what it all boils down to is that bringing awareness to the skill set, so that way companies are aware of the abilities of the installers at a glance, so to speak, right? And you're only communicating with the companies who are able, or the individuals who are able to do that type of work comfortably.
Yeah, the trade partners that you're looking at working with, and the longer they work in Go Carrera, you also get the other metrics. Like every
Yeah.
time a company does a job with uh, a trade partner, you as the company can give them kudos, and those kudos are saying, hey, you did a great job. And on that great job, you have to say why, and we track 5 metrics: professionalism, attitude, dependability, punctuality, and exceptional quality. That's the kind of the 5 most on our surveys over the course of a year. Those were the 5 most important things to companies, right? You want a professional, you want someone with a good attitude, you want
Mhm.
someone who's going to show up when they say, dependable, and then you want them to be punctual on that. Like, yeah, I'll be there Thursday at 8, but they show up at 11:30. So that's the punctuality piece, and then exceptional quality. And so you get to a company can see why a guy's getting those metrics. Like, we're going to make that visible to the company. That's imminent. We're almost done with that feature. So we had to gather the data, and now we can publish that to a company. So you see, where is this guy getting, or this trade partner getting their kudos from. We're also going to be adding a kudo tip, and that's when the installer just knocks it out of the park for you. Your trade partner just absolutely crushes the job. Hey, put your money where your mouth is. Give them an extra $50 or an extra $100 when they do a great job for you. And we want to give that mechanism available to companies. And then imagine you're looking at an installer who say he's done 100 work orders. From a company's perspective, they've done 100 work orders across the network. They've gotten 60 kudos and 10 kudo tips. Well, that would be a heck of a high performing guy. I mean, he's got over 50% kudo rating. He's got like a 10% kudo tip rating. And that would be, you could feel pretty good if he has the hammer rating you need that trade partner is going to do a good job for you. And that's the kind of assurance that Go Carrera gives to the company.
Another question I have, like, because that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to have these questions like on
Thank
the
you.
So as someone who's hiring the trade partner, is there a way for me to put my experience working with the individual or the crews as a person hiring them? Like, was it pleasant for me to work with them as well? Someone can do a bang out job, but not communicate well with the person who hired them to do the work. And I'm only asking this because of a couple of past experiences. And
you mean so as the company, you publish a work order, do a job with the guy, and you want to say whether he did a good job or not for you?
I want to say whether because once they're on the individuals on the Go Carrera network, if they're not getting good kudos, then you want to know that, right? But if you're another company who uses the network or somebody else, you want to see what the rating is too, as far as workability with the company. Are they reading the work order properly? Are they executing everything on there? Are they just
yes?
Are they just thinking out loud kind of thing? And
yeah, so we never gave a, this has come up quite a few times. We never gave a way to give negative feedback. We figured that if you see a guy that is done 100 work orders but only gotten 10 kudos, and then you look at it, why he got his kudos, and they were all 10 of them were for, say, exceptional quality, but he's not gotten any kudos for punctuality or whatever. We feel like that tells a pretty good story. I could have my mind
negative. You're absolutely right. That is awesome.
I could have my mind changed on that, where you could, what we didn't want to do, and what I won't do, is like give this open forum for someone just to have a bad day. The installer maybe had a bad day on top of that, right? Like, I remember one time, I'll give you a quick example. I remember one time I did this attorney's office, lawyer's office, and it was during my wife's pregnancy, and she had really bad ones, like literally died once with my son during pregnancy, and they brought her back. And so I was always kind of just trying to get the job done that I had to get done that day. And there was a period in my life I was not like, I didn't care if the owner wanted to talk to me. I was there to do a job. So my attitude probably sucked. And I was only, 20 some, low 20s, like 20, 21. So I kind of was a little jerk anyway. But you add to the fact that I had that life stress on top of that. And I did a bang out job from a qualities perspective. I wasn't disrespectful, but I was not very talkative. And this was one of those clients that would come and ask you questions while you're installing, like, hey, why do you do it that way? And I was like, I ignored her most of the time. Like, I literally ignored her.
I know there's a lot of people laughing with you right now.
Yeah, helicopters is what we call them.
Yeah, it was definitely a hover move. She was a hovercraft. And what's even worse, I wish I could tell her sorry, was she was super nice. Like, you get some of those, and I've had the ones that are hovering you, and they're doing it just to point out, try to catch you doing something that they somehow, as an attorney, knows is not the proper technique or something.
Well, especially these days when everyone can find out everything on YouTube, they just watch a video and be like, hey, the guy on YouTube was doing it this way. Why are you doing it like that?
Yeah. So those are the worst kind. She was the nice kind. She just seemed to have a genuine curiosity where I didn't feel like I had the time to explain. I just ignored, like I was deaf, which was the wrong thing to do if anybody's watching. Everybody, or I should say for everyone who's watching. But that's what I did. And I got the call went back to my office, just completely dissatisfied with me. So the company goes out, my boss goes out, looks at the job. It's like, you must have been a real jerk to produce a job like that and get someone to call us. And I was like, so I explained to him, but at the end of the day, I did, if you put that out on the internet, right? Boom. Like, he sucks, or he's just a bad
It's living
attitude.
forever.
Yeah.
It's there. And now it's on this installer's profile for other companies to see when maybe two people had a bad day. What's the truth of the deal, right? The truth is I did a really good job on that project. The truth is that project was lasted. There was no punch list, and the job, no callbacks for years. We never, right? We continued to do work at that same office building for other tenants. Like, it was a good job. I was just kind of a jerk, and I admit that. But at the end of the day, should that live with me? Should that harm my ability to earn? And maybe I'm biased here, and it's because of that experience that I didn't want to implement a negative thing. And I'll be honest with you, that's one of the beliefs in my head of why I didn't want to have companies just on their dogging installers, because maybe. So anyway, I was hoping
a great way to go about it too, because you're right. Like, instead of putting one negative thing on there, let the percentages speak for themselves. And it's the same thing for stats for a professional player, right? They use stats to speak to their ability, and that's our.
Yeah, when you see a 300 batting average, you don't think, God, he's 70% sucky,
Right.
You're like, he's maintained that for 10 years. He's probably going to go to the Hall of Fame.
Right. Okay.
So we look at like the Kudo rating at about that 50% has proven to be like, you're starting to become not only elite in your skill set, but elite at applying your skill set at about that 50 to 55% rate. And that tells a good story to me. I mean, I think that gives enough data. I mean, I'm open. Tell me, what is your thoughts? Do you think that's maybe we could, there is a possibility you could say, where could this installer improve, and then give them 5 or 6 things.
I think even if you did that and made that private to the installer, like, hey, you did a great job, but this is what we're seeing where you could improve. That way it's, it's not public, and that way they have some constructive criticism to work with, right?
Right. And it's
so installer view only. Yep. And do you still, and hey guys, you're watching Go Carrera development right now, because we're kind of talking about something that might come as a new feature.
And that's what people need to realize too, is that, we're Go Carrera's at a spot where you need the feedback in order to provide a product that everyone wants to use. Yeah. And I don't think that's what people understand, because usually when you're buying something, I'm buying this so I can use it, and it sucks, so I'm just not going to use it anymore. There's plenty of places like that, right? But now you're like, we're still small. Let's get some feedback so we can make the changes. That way we can get more people to join, because it has to be useful for everyone. It can't just be like, this is what you get and that's all, because
yeah, you're exactly right, Daniel. We want the feedback. You guys want the feedback. We all want the feedback so that we can get better. There's nothing more valuable to us as flooring companies than when our client gives us honest feedback, both good and bad. And you have to decipher, and this is another reason, right? You have to decipher how do I say this? Like, just the attitudes thing. And that's the part that's so hard when you give an open forum, like for somebody just to type in all these problems, just to talk out of their mouth and onto a keyboard, is it's so easy for it to end up, because you're talking personalities and attitudes. So you're not getting to the truth, because it's hard sometimes in that case. So if you that's why on the kudos, we give 5 metrics that you can score high in. If we did the same thing, like feedback to installer, right? That's a great idea. And it stays with the installer. And maybe there's 8 or 10 things on there, whatever the list is, and maybe it's like, be more punctual. Some of them are good, just going to counteract what the positive on the kudos side is,
Take a
like
shower.
be dependable. But yeah, it could be cleanliness, and that's where professionalism is at on the kudos side, is like, could, appearance needs improvement or something like that, or we can brainstorm that thing and come up with 8 or 10 metrics
already
that you
thinking
can
about
just say, maybe it could be a score, like a
there you go.
1 to 20 score on each one of these items as feedback to the installer or the trade partner installer to help them get better, not as something that's going to be on their rating. And you see this stuff all the time on Google. And Google, if you're listening, you got to fix this. But it's like, you got all these 5 stars and you get this one guy that says, oh, he sucked. He was this and that. And more than likely, with all the positive things, that is just somebody who's angry for some reason. Maybe the guy, maybe he had a change order that the guy didn't like. Oh, he overcharged me. Well, you probably had a legitimate thing. If it's a good installer, it's probably legitimate. And those things that you can't read into when you're reading some review online. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and Go Carrera is not a public forum, so like the public can't see it, but the people who are going to hire the trade partners can see it. And so you don't want to, what I always was cautious about, and I think, you guys, I mean, we've had a freaking discussions on discussions and deep dives and think tank stuff going. I feel like you're the same way. You don't want to harm somebody's livelihood for a bad day.
It's not, and that's it right there. It's not up to me to dictate anybody's career path, right? And their ability to provide for their family. They got to do it. They got to go somewhere and do it. And hey, just because it didn't work out here doesn't mean it's not going to work out for them somewhere else. They might not. They might have been, a squirrel trying to live with the chipmunks, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
They need to get back in there. They need to go find a tree to live with the squirrels.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Now that I can, I'm gonna show you kind of the answer to your question.
Rollins says, "Start over. I just got on."
Right away, boss.
All right.
So we can kind of get the rundown on. Were you just going to show what you were talking about earlier? Are you going to kind of?
Yeah, I'll show. I'm actually going to show a little bit of the platform and talk through it here. So, tell me, can you see my screen here?
Yep.
So this is the Go Carrera company side, and you're looking at my company's stuff. So I've got to be careful, obviously, for obvious reasons on what I show in here, because there's a lot of financial stuff. But I will show you how work orders, for example, up in this corner here, you can just create a new work order. And so when I do that, this is where I actually pick one of the disciplines. So it's carpet, it's ceramic, resilient wood. Surfaces is not a hammer rated thing, but we found a lot of demo guys and stuff wanted that. There's guys that just do demo, and we never figured out a way how to hammer rate demo.
Well, if they own a hammer and a screwdriver, then that starts out your hammer rating.
So that's what services is. There's also a few dumpster companies on here that like how it works. They just get this work order to drop a dumpster over at this job site at this time, and then they bill right through the system. It's real nice for them. But epoxy coatings, floor care. So in a second, I'll get you guys' opinion. I was thinking about adding an inspector as well. But you go through here, you can pick whatever, resilient, and type your job name, XYZ hospital.
I heard about them. I heard they're pretty good.
It's a great hospital. You select your facility type. So this would obviously be a major medical if it's a hospital. And then I'm going to type in, just a public summary. Now, a public summary is something that when I publish this, the entire network will see. I don't put my actual job name here most of the time. And that's because, like even on the public job name, I'm actually just say, major hospital or just hospital here. What I don't want is for guys to go to the job site that haven't been awarded the project yet, right? So here I might just say, flash, and you don't have to do all caps. I'm kind of bad at this. I do all caps, so I don't have to.
Daniel writes, so it's no.
So it might be, flash cove, 4-inch sheet. Let me just dig on myself here. In birthing center.
You're doing pretty good. I didn't see the spell check pop up one time.
So then I'll select my date range. Maybe they're going to start tomorrow and I want them done by Friday or whatever. And then I'll go next. Now, this is the private job name. This is where I'd put, like Wesley Hospital. And then in here, I can put any number of things. Anything I feel like's important, I can copy and paste into this. But a lot of times I'll just put like, remove existing LVT or whatever.
Yeah, so you do like a removal list, breaking it down.
Yeah, and then I might say skim coat. This is how I do it anyway. And then I'll do a little deal here and I'll say, I'm using Ardex feather finish. And then I always like to just highlight my material list, like what materials. And I always use this kind of crazy color there. And so I might say, install, Nora, whatever, rubber sheet, and then give the Nora
think your
product. And again, I just bullet that the same and highlight it.
Quite a bit of
and just keep. Let me stop the share here.
No, you're.
Is that okay? I'm gonna reshare, but see if I can reset. Is this okay?
Yeah, we can hear you clear now. Yeah.
Okay, let me try to reshare. See if I can reset. Maybe my internet's not the best. So I can, just say what the products are. And this you can put as much as you want. And then I always end it with site contact. James. This is a little callback to Pruitt. Rick James. And then I'll give their phone number, 316-999, whatever.
Thought it was 555.
So this is and just to be clear, this is only visible to the person who accepted the project.
Yep.
Okay.
This is the private job details. So this would be this is where you can get down and dirty. You don't have to worry about the whole network seeing it, but the guy you end up doing the job with or awarding the job to would get to see all of this. I can add files here. And so I can add any number of, whatever files I wanted to add. Typically, I'm going to add my floor plan, my flooded floor plan, if it's a, patterned carpet, or my layout plan, my installation instructions. I'll toss install instructions in here. Specifically, if it's like, one of the specialized products. So, and then, you know, you can toss your address in here. It populates it'll populate the city and state. And then at any time, another thing is if I get like interrupted, I can save and exit, and then I can go back to drafts and find this job. And I'll just show you what that looks like real quick. So I saved and exit, then I'd go to work and I'd go to drafts, and there it is right there. And I can jump right back in, come up here, hit edit, and get right back where I was at. So the next screen is where you add your items. So like, you know, LVT removal. I've got, you know, 1,200 square feet, and I'm going to pay, you know, $2 a square foot to do it. I pick square footage there, and then I save. Right? And then I'm going to add my next line item, which is, you know, skim coating. And let's say that's going to be 1,200 square feet at, you know, 55 cents a foot. And these are just numbers as far as the payout and all that off the cuff here. And then I might do my rubber sheet labor and say, I'm not going to do the math. Let's just say there's 200 yards. And I'm going to pay, you know, let's say $16 a yard. Some people pay by the foot on this stuff too, but pick square yards. And let's say that's the work order for simplicity's sake here.
Yep.
I go next. I set my hammer rating where I feel like it's going to be. Say I think a 1.5. One thing I have noticed that I would say to all companies is that I've had companies, there's been plenty of companies on the network set this thing at a 5 for literally like backsplash or something. They like, you don't need it. You don't need a 5 hammer guy to do a 3x6 subway backsplash. Like that is a half hammer job. But as we have a guideline for this too, that we give to our member companies, but this job, I would probably put it, you know, 1.5. It's not like it's a foot tall flash cove, which we did last year at a job. Now the publish radius, if I'm in New York, I might only want to publish this 50 miles. But if I'm in rural Kansas, I might have to go all 500 miles, you know, so I can publish radius. And then I'm going to select which lien release I'm going to use when I publish the job. And I only have one in my company, but there are companies on Go Carrera that have like 5 or 6 of these.
Right, because you can do conditional, unconditional, partial, full.
Well, and even down to like jurisdiction stuff up in the Seattle area, it's like it's in this jurisdiction, so it has to have this certain language in this lien release. So you select which lien release you need the trade partner to execute to get their payment released, and then I'll tag it. And tags are just searchable items. And you can tag it with anything. Maybe I've done a lot of tagging with superintendents' names so that I can go back and look at all the jobs I've done with that superintendent.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah. The stuff, you already know it's a hospital. So I wouldn't tag it with hospital. I already know I can search that. There's other searchable things, but I'll use superintendent's name. Sometimes I'll use, like, I'll go rubber sheet or Nora rubber. And then I'll go like Rick James. Sorry to everyone. That's
I can't finish that, but I'm going to.
I did right in front of you. Look how. So then I would publish the work order. And I can publish the work order in multiple different ways. I can publish it to employee installers, so my in-house guys. I can publish to my network, which are guys I've worked with in the past, or I can publish it to the entire network. Now, I'm not going to do this because obviously this is not a real project, but that gives you an idea of the workflow and how easy it is to create a really detailed work order for your crews. And so that's that. And if I ever want to get out of this and delete this work order, I could just go back to here, and then it's going to let me delete it, or I could save and close, or I could leave without saving it, go back to the draft, to the last saved work order. So in this case, I'm going to delete the work order, and that's that.
So I got another thing, because I want to try to ask questions as if I'm new to all that. Now,
Sure.
you had the 500-mile radius on there, right? So say I come across an account that requires me to travel outside of that 500-mile radius. Is there a way to communicate that as long as the network is available? Say
Well, it's a 500 mile, to be clear, it's a 500-mile radius from the zip code of the work of the project.
Oh,
so the
there you
zip
go.
code that you put in when I was filling that out, it's 500 miles from the actual project. So if your job is in, if you guys are in Grand Rapids and your job is in Kentucky, you're going to have the Kentucky address for your job address with the job address's zip code. And so it's going to publish 50 miles from that zip code or 500 miles from that zip code.
Okay, fair enough.
And another note, and we'll get into this next week with installers, but just because you're not matched as an installer, another cool thing about Go Carrera, if I can share my screen one more time here, is I'm going to go into, see if I could do this without, find my risking like competitors watching this that are in my area. But look, I can chat with my installer the entire time. Drop in drawings. This, I asked him for his cuts. He gave me his cuts. There's another installer that they teamed up on it, and I need to split it up. And so it's like I can chat with them back and forth. They can drop in pictures of the job, problems with the substrate, tell me how much a change order is going to cost. I can create a change order right there in the work order. It's really a full work order system that's centered on the skills and experience.
And not only that, it's providing a central location of communication for that specific product or project or that relationship.
Yeah, that's a great point. The reason we have chats where it's at, as you know, is because it keeps the communication about that job with that job forever. Instead of you jumping on a text message,
email, yeah,
or an email or something else, and then you're going back in 3 months trying to find that like message that the installer sent you,
We've
or
been
that
there plenty of times.
or
Like,
the picture, the installer sent you that
didn't I
shows
email you that? And then you're like searching through your emails, and then it's like, nope. Then you got to search through text.
yeah. Or you ask a question on a project about a project, and then you have a conversation about 3 other projects through that one email, and then you're like, I know we did that. I know, like I remember, but then it's
text message is the worst for that. What
Man.
you're explaining, I remember, one of the caveat or kind of like sparks to adding chats was if I went back to a text message with an installer, I was like, yeah, you're good. And he's like, he did something on a job. My yeah, you're good was talking about the other project, not the one he was actually on. And, it's just like, there's all these communication things. So we felt like having to communicate, if you're communicating about your project, just get on that work order and communicate there. And then it's always there forever. Yes. I mean, the work order I just pulled up is pretty old, and it's all still there. And if we do add that other feature that I was talking to you about, I'll tease it here. It's kind of video, stream video, where I don't see any problem just talking about it, I guess. But you can stream video between right out of the application. You can, the coolest thing I didn't tell you about is at the end of that video call with your installer, for example, and you've taken notes on your screen and shown them things like, hey, make sure to, really look at this part of the building, because I know this owner's really particular with their outside corners on these small return, whatever the deal, right? And so you circle it and you take a note, pay special attention. At the end of that, we're going to create a full report. It'll have all the video. It'll have all the pictures that you've taken from that video and all the notes, and put it in a report and dump it in the chat. And so you'll have this
before we started the podcast, and gave me an idea, but we had to roll right into the video. So that's why I was like, oh, I'll wait.
So. Yeah. So, yeah, it's about the big picture here is keeping the communication about a job with the job.
That's worth its weight in gold when there are issues that need to be resolved. You're no longer doing the he said, she said thing. Everything's there for you to go back and review, or if you're confused, you can just revisit it without having to make another phone call again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you don't need to make a phone call. You just need to let them know that, tomorrow afternoon, the job's not, you can't start till 1:30 instead of noon. And just throw it in the chat, send it to them, let them know, it alerts them. I'm going to show one more thing because we're running short on time.
Are we already?
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh my God.
So, real quick out of that, but you can look at the calendar and let me go to today. So like if you go, say this job is going to move a couple of days, I can just drag it and drop it. And if I click yes right now, that installer is going to be alerted that job's extended. Maybe it starts sooner, right? And it's that quick, and it informs them. Another cool thing is for like your field guys, they may not have created the work order, but they can jump in and just jump to the work order right off of there. And I don't want to show all these work orders because they are our company's actual work orders. But the point being is the calendar allows you to schedule your guys, look through my network that you've seen. Is one of the key features of my network is that once you've worked with somebody and you add them to my network or your network, you now have their schedule right there. Another cool feature that we'll talk about is we're going to allow, we're working on the code to have an installer be able to use the calendar on their side in the Go Carrera app to book other work. So that when you go in, when they're working for somebody else. It'll just say busy because you don't need to know what they're doing, but it'll show that they're busy. So on the I call it it's called a calendar, but really it's a scheduler, right? So on the scheduler, it'll show, Daniel Gonzalez, and he's busy, but oh, look, he's open on the 15th to the 22nd. I can have him do the job then.
Kind of like blackout dates for credit cards or flights.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just like that. It takes away now, if there's a job and Daniel's, I'll show this feature next week, which is maps. And on maps, you can jump on the map, an installer can, and he can throw his name in the bucket on just about any project, even if he is not hammer rated matched, but it will show the company, hey, Daniel has shown interested in this job, but he does not meet the hammer rating. And it lets me know, but maybe it's because, Daniel's just hasn't received the standard training for that. But then I look at his profile and I see that, he's really highly hammer rated in other products. But he also, whoever he's been working for, has given him, he's got 60% kudo rating or 70% kudo rating, and it's in professionalism and exceptional quality. Well, shit, maybe he's worth a shot, Cool thing is I can chat with Daniel before I even award him the job and say, hey,
I was
man,
gonna say,
I
it's always
seen
worth a
you.
conversation.
Yeah, I seen you replied to this job. Got a question for you. You don't have the right hammer rating. Tell me more about yourself. You got great kudos, so you must be doing something right, and you can have a conversation with them before you award the job to whoever. So the chat is before awardal, and then after it is a project, you have that featured. Now, obviously, pre-chat or pre-award chat, that goes away once the job's awarded, because once your deal's all in writing, once you've already awarded, it's kind of unnecessary to have all that. So we don't clog the chat post award. So once you have an installer, trade partner on a job, you can chat with them, and it's not muddled up with the previous chatting. So if that makes sense, I hope I explained it correctly.
Perfectly makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's important in that original chat pre the project being awarded is anything important is transferred over to the final product as far as the work order or
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, another cool like one of the guys, once you get on maps, and I need to save this, especially since we're already over time here, but stick with us, guys. Cool thing within installers side of the thing is, once Go Carrera's companies, say there's 200 companies on the application, like you could be on vacation in Florida and decide to pick up a 2-day project, go make a couple, 2 or 3 grand if you wanted to. I do know that we've had this happen where a guy was out of town working on a job in Oklahoma, and another company published a job and he was in Tulsa, on the west side of Tulsa, and this was the east side of Oklahoma City, and he was able, his main job got pushed 2 days. He jumped on maps, found this job that was about an hour and 15 minutes away, went and accepted that project, did this project, made like $2,200 in a day doing this project, and then went back to his other job. So he filled all his time. He got paid. It's a really cool feature. As more work gets put on the maps and more companies publish their work to the maps, it's just more opportunity for installers to really look at the work and make decisions.
That's what it was. It wasn't a total waste.
Well, it was just filling his schedule up because the things got pushed. And
yeah,
I mean, what
was he
gonna
gonna
do with that?
He was either going to drive back home or spend a couple of nights with no pay for his hotel and his time. You know what I mean? Like, and just sit on his thing. Maybe go check out the Tulsa. I mean, go to Bricktown's in Oklahoma City.
If you just want to go to the beach for a week and hang out, you'd look for work that's out there. Go find some work, enjoy yourself for a little bit, come back home.
I would love someday. The 3 of us got to hit the road once Go Carrera's like really got a lot of work. We got to hit the road and like go up to like a national park and pick up work on the way and just do some little jobs on the way up there. Pay for
like a 1-day project here, 1-day project there.
Maybe it's 1 day here, a couple of days here, but we just work our way up over the course of a couple of weeks, and we get to have all the fun you could possibly have, but also pay for the trip by doing some smaller work orders on the way. And when we get enough work orders on, right, I'm renting the RV and you guys are going with me.
Let's do it.
How fun would that be? Hey, we'll
I
make
think
it
it's
big
gonna be a
enough where you
blast.
can bring your kids too. We'll stop at some
Oh, come
baseball.
on.
Hey, what if we
Nobody's
stop
ruining
at
it for me
Wrigley
like that.
Field?
You ruin it for me like that. My kids are extra.
Bro, what if we went to and caught a game at Wrigley Field and then did a little job? I mean,
I
that how
know.
cool would that be?
Actually, they would probably work if it was they were able to. So
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, like when I was in the Bahamas, Jerry Miller was in the Bahamas too, doing a CFI cert, and I was like, man, if only I knew about this. But it wasn't a published one. It was for a private company.
Oh, gotcha.
oh,
He was
that's
there
cool.
doing a training.
He almost
Yeah,
got hit by a car. He told me about
yeah.
that.
He said that he just stayed in his hotel room the entire time. He went from the training to back to his room. He said, I didn't want any part of anything going on over there. And then you have me and the kids running a van for the whole week, driving everywhere. Hey, Rollin, would take it easy. Thanks for watching. He said that
So there's
he's going home to see the wife.
so
See you,
there's
Roland.
there's a lot of questions and scenarios that I have, but I think it's more based from the installer perspective. So I didn't want to ruin it by asking.
I mean, honestly, this is probably going to be more than just a 2-part series. We're gonna have to do a few of them.
Maybe we'll do next week installers, and then if we can get Ashlyn, who schedules all of our podcasts and then gets it published to Floor Covering Weekly, to adjust one more week, and we'll do this complete overview.
Even if it's not, consecutive, we'll do this one, the next one, and then maybe give it a few weeks or something, or hit it next month, where it's like, let's get some traction behind it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anybody,
So if you guys, if who anybody in the audience, if you watch this podcast and you'd like even more information on it, just comment somewhere. Let us
there
know.
you go.
Hit us up on Facebook or comment on YouTube. Hey, would like to see a deeper dive on X, Y, or Z, and we'll do it. I mean, just like the feature we're probably going to add because of what Daniel said.
There's a couple more too.
But that's
well,
what we do.
Whoop.
Yeah, I know. That's why you guys are awesome, man, is you bring up these great ideas. But hey, look, at the end of the day, it's about trying to make companies and installers work together more efficiently, better, more understanding, thus producing better projects, better end results for our clients. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want. I said this early on. I don't think there's very few installers in the world that want to do a bad job. They don't want to. They're just ill-equipped, and they need to work. And so they may tell you or tell a store, whether it's a retail or a commercial contractor like us or like you guys, that maybe they can do a little more than what their experience or their education supports. And all we want to do is make sure there's a good match there as Go Carrera, and hopefully be able to give our clients let me shut that down. Give end users and national account companies the confidence that they have the right people on their project. And that's what we all want, I think. So that we're just trying to we've created the platform to allow that to happen.
Higher probability of success for everyone involved. That's really what it amounts to.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you can't take all the variables away. We're all human, but we can make things better. And look, at the end of the day, we've been doing business the same way for so long, and different technologies have come out. And I gotta applaud you guys, because you guys are have went further. You're far ahead of me of where I was on technology by the time frame of your company. I know Daniel loves it, and you guys have done some awesome things over there with the way you work outside of Go Carrera. Even it's really cool if maybe that's my other ploy to companies: make sure you're embracing technology and innovation, and you're trying to improve upon your systems and utilize.
Technology isn't going anywhere.
No, and I'll leave it with this. You can buy a wife or date somebody, order food, get it to your house. Like you can do almost everything just on an application on your phone, and many of us do that. You know, my wife was on vacation with her. She does this annual girls trip. I was home alone with the kids for 3 days. Boy, we were door dashing fools. I didn't cook one meal. I door dashed everything.
Gave us something
And
order steak.
Yeah.
yeah, why not
kids
labor? So it's about time that skilled labor got on the same situation where, you know, you get on DoorDash, you get to look at the quality of the food, or you get on Uber, you know that the guy's done 10,000 rides and his average hit rating is 4.9 or 5 or whatever. And you can make an intelligent decision on whether or not you want that guy to ride, you know. And now on Uber, it's like, if they're under a 4.7, you start to wonder. That metric is hard. Have you ever seen a one-star Uber driver?
No.
I've never seen even a 2-star or 3-star. They're all like high 4s. So I don't know. They may need to like get some separation in there somewhere. Because I've been in a few that should maybe not have 5 stars. Just saying.
They're reviewing themselves.
Yeah, that's possible.
You clear your cache and then you go back and do it again.
Yeah. Okay, well, guys, we're a little over. That was fun. I hope you guys I appreciate the questions back and forth. We didn't have a lot of like live participation. If you guys, anybody in the audience or who consumes this later on YouTube or, you know, one of the platforms, you know, type in the question, type in concern, ask anything. If you have an idea, throw it out there, man. We are, you know, we're small enough and nimble enough, but the team, our development team is the best. And like, I'm not just saying that. The application's a world-class application, and the team behind it, these guys are geniuses. I'm just the nerd that sits on screen and tells you about Go Carrera. The guys that actually built it, they are fantastic. And we are ready to mobilize and move things to try to better fit what installers want to see and need to see, and what companies want to see and need to see. And so your feedback is not only, I mean, it's appreciated, past wanted, it's appreciated. So yeah, please let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, or reach out. If anybody local is watching and you want to reach out to Daniel or I here, then yeah, 100% just give us a call. You know where to find us.
Yeah, I mean, there's already been a few people that have reached out to me, just asking me questions like, hey, I know that you're in with Go Carrera, like what is going on with them? How do you feel? And it's like, man, like, and I always tell them, you know, start out from the beginning. Like, it always seems like someone is trying to sell you something, and it's like they're not even selling you something. They're just trying to help you out. They're trying to help the industry. So
I did my very best not to go into the conversation on how we met and how we kept seeing each other.
We'll get into that next week when we start talking about installers, because I want to talk about like some of that stuff, Daniel, that you just mentioned. Like, that's a lot of installers say that kind of thing. Like, what? Well, I mean, maybe I'll leave it with this. The very worst thing that could happen is you get on the application, you fill out your profile, you get a hammer rating, you get tied into the knowledge base and understand how you can increase your hammer rating, but there's no work orders in your area. And so you wasted, say, a half hour, but you do have a third party now that has verified everything you said, that you can use as a sales tool when you go talk to a homeowner or to another commercial client. You can be like, well, look at this, right? It's not just what you say. You got some backing in. So that's like the worst thing that can happen.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, man, I fully appreciate this. I had a great time. It's always fun to rap with you guys, and nice change of pace. I don't know who thought of this. Was that you that said, hey, we ought to just do a deep dive into Go Carrera? Was that you, Jose, or yeah?
It was whoever.
It might have been Ashlyn.
It might have been Ashlyn. We've talked about it.
Because I had something else kind of on the board, and then it was like, that came up, and I was like,
we've talked around it so much that it's time to talk about it, right? Like,
yeah,
it's just time
I
to talk.
agree. Oh, hey, I keep saying I'm gonna leave you with this, but guess I publicly, anybody on here, download the Blocks app. It's BLOX. It's the Blocks. It's a entrepreneurial challenge, live-in challenge, and Go Carrera is going to be featured on that. So I'll be going and shooting the show. That's what it looks like right there.
Oh, no, it's
And yeah, it's an entrepreneurial show. The owner of it, or the CEO of it, is a guy that's been on like MTV's The Challenge, but he's also a venture capital, and that's really what he is. He does reality TV as an actor, and he's been doing it for 20 years. And he's pretty well known, Wes. And so yeah, Go Carrera is going to be featured on the Blocks.
Awesome,
so
dude.
we'll see how we do.
Congratulations, man.
Shoot in July. So that's what I got. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate you guys so much, and it's been fun. So I need to fly up and see you guys because you've come down here. It's time for me to get up there and hang out with you for a few days.
It's still cold up here.
Yeah, it was
down there.
It was snowing for the past couple days still.
Oh, damn. Okay, when's the
Michigan,
Like
bro.
you
I don't
got
know.
like 2 days in May that aren't cold and aren't super hot.
It's a crapshoot at this point.
all right, well, we'll keep an eye on the forecast and get some stuff planned in the very, very near future. I'm
80 to 30
definitely
degrees
wanting to
in
come
3
out
days.
and hang out. What's that?
Went from 80 to 30 degrees in like 2 or 3 days.
We kind of do that too this time of year, but then we do have a really decent, 2.5, 3 months of pretty nice. But man, sometimes it gets, I'm rambling now. Sometimes it gets into the triple digits and it sucks. So, all right, I'm gonna leave you with that.
All right.
brother.
We'll see you
Thank
guys.
you, sir. Have a good one.
Thanks.